I am constantly stressed. I feel stressed all the time. It's like this ball of stress inside me. I wake up stressed. I go to sleep stressed. I get up in the middle of the night stressed. Is that something that other people deal with? I don't know if that's just something as we age that we start dealing with, or if it's just overwhelm of like the things that we have to do in our lives. And, look, I'm a business owner. We own a home. I'm a wife. I have regular responsibilities like everybody else does. But I just feel like something is too much lately. Something's got to give. So if you're new here, this is Home Reimagine. I'm Jacqueline, and this is not one of my typical videos. Usually everything's pretty structured. I'm giving you guys great advice about home and cleaning and organization. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about my personal life, but I'm also going to hope that you can take away some of the tips that I've implemented in my home that have allowed me to reduce some stress. Because if you feel anything like me, I think these things that I've discovered and I've implemented into my home have been total game changers for me. Now, have I gotten rid of every piece of stress in my life? No, most definitely not. Will I ever? Probably no. But I think these things have helped me quite a bit. And if they can help you too, I'd love to share them with you. So let's get started. So I think one of the things for me is I feel like this need to be perfect all the time. I think I just put so much pressure on myself. I want to be perfect. Everything has to be done exactly the same way that I want it to be done. And that causes me so much extra stress. And it's stress that's induced by me. It's not stress induced by, nobody's telling me I have to be perfect. My husband isn't coming in here and being like, you didn't do something perfectly. Nobody cares. Like, that's one of those things that I think we put on ourselves. We're so concerned about being whatever it is that somebody wants us to be. The whole reason I created my social media accounts and to help with organizing and cleaning was so that I could help people. But in my head, I put this persona out. I need to be perfect in order for you to value my opinion. I came up with this thought that like I couldn't be human. I couldn't have messes. Oh God, if you saw a mess, you were going to think that I didn't actually know what I was talking about. And like the things I talk about on my social media and like in my YouTube videos, they are true. These are real things I do. I do all these things. But when I present them to you, I script them. This is so awkward to me. I feel so like vulnerable to chat with you like this. And I know I shouldn't. Like, I don't know, like, why should I be embarrassed to have a conversation? I talk to my friends like this, but I do. I feel weird. I feel like people want to see perfection over relatability. And I don't know if that's real or not. And tell me below if I'm crazy and you're like, no, Jacqueline, go straight back to this perfection. I will happily do it. I will close this chapter and I will never share my personal life again. I'm hoping in this new chapter I can create a space where we can be more real with one another. And you can see that like everything I do is true, but there are exceptions. I make messes. Yes, I try to keep my house as perfect as possible, but like the reality is I have a life, I have a job, I have family, I have things that need to be done. So I don't know if that's just like a thing in society that women feel like they need to be perfect. And I'm sure there are men out there that feel the same way. I just can only speak from a woman's perspective. But I do think that's a pretty relatable thing for a lot of women. I think people want to feel perfect. They want to be like, my house is perfect, my life is perfect. They don't want people to see them down because maybe it gives people a way to kick them. It's like, you're vulnerable, let me kick you while you're down. And I'm not sure where that started, but I really hope we can get rid of that because I think being real is fun. Like when you're struggling and you see somebody else be like, hey, I went through that and here's what I did, I feel more like I'm able to tackle it. This person did it and so can I. So starting this year, that's going to be my best hope for this is I'm going to be able to try and be more personal with you guys. I'm going to be awkward at first. I'm awkward right now. I'm doing my best. But I hope that you guys can respect and appreciate that because that is something that I want to show you. Is everybody's out there with all of their own problems and you can still maintain a clean and organized home, but not everything has to be perfect at all times. But I just keep thinking like there's so much more you guys can learn when you see a real person doing it. So with that being said, I think that's a major cause with stress in our house. So trying to reduce the panic of I have to be perfect or I have to do something a certain way can absolutely reduce that. I'm starting to realize that there's been a lot of studies done on stress and how it correlates with people, especially in women. And this is to say this can happen with any person. Anybody could be stressed by these things I'm about to suggest. Women's stress levels are directly correlated with the amount of stuff in their home. So I'm not being like, oh my God, get rid of everything in your house. I mean, yeah, declutter and like get rid of things, but like don't just throw everything out. There can be a difference between getting rid of everything and creating a space that's cluttered free. With that being said, visual clutter is the main problem for a lot of people. It's just stuff out. So that doesn't necessarily have to be like removing stuff. It can also just be creating systems and putting things in place where it helps you. So for me, this is the one thing I get a little stressed about. When you have stuff out, if this is out, you don't just shove it in a cabinet or shove it in a closet. If you want it to go away and you want to look at a visually pleasing space, because visual clutter is real and having too much out can cause chaos and overwhelm in your brain. So just shoving in a cabinet is not going to help that problem because then when you go to open that cabinet, now it's overly filled. The thought is everything should have a place. So do your best to create systems that actually work for your home. So obviously I'm using a cup as an example, which is probably not the best, but when you go in there, if you have 25 cups and only 22 of them actually fit and you put 3 of them in another cabinet, you probably could just get rid of those other 3. That math did not math. 22 and 20, yeah, 3, okay, 25. I don't know how many I said, whatever. If you have to put 3 more in another cabinet and it doesn't stay, it can't go with this other stuff. The thought is like you have too much of something and now it's causing you stress by having to find a place to put it, which really doesn't matter. You could just get rid of it and have less stuff. So I know that sounds really wild and it's not, it's easier said than done for sure, but thinking in a very realistic manner, making sure you're putting things away. Don't just leave everything out. Have a place for it and put it away. And no, you're not just going to like always be sitting there and be like, I have so much free time. Let me put all this stuff away. No, there's going to be stuff out every once in a while. But when you can, I've tried to implement at least 5 to 10 minutes, just picking things up and putting them back to wherever they go. It doesn't matter if you just do one room or maybe just the room that you have to be in. If you're working, maybe it's like your office or, you know, your kitchen countertop, that's where you work. Or maybe if you're getting ready for something, putting everything away in the bathroom before you start doing your hair or makeup. This just gives you a sense of peace and it's easy. It's a simple thing, and the faster and more you do it, the less you have to be stressed about it in the long term. If you do 5 minutes here instead of doing 2 hours on Saturday, you're going to save yourself a ton of time. Going off of visual clutter, it's not just about all the things that are out on the countertops or causing stress by looking at too much stuff in a cabinet or anywhere in your home. It can actually be product marketing. So I know this sounds like a very wild concept, but when you think about it, everything in your home has a label on it from the store or the brand that you purchased it from. And those brands, they're overwhelming. Think about things like in your shower or your pantry, you have neon green bottles. For example, my cleaning bottle here. This product is a marketing piece. It's green, it's bright, the label is interesting to look at. So when I pick it up on a store shelf, I see it on the shelf and I want to pick it up and take it home. This is product marketing. It does not need to happen in your house. It only needs to happen at the store to get you to take it home. But the problem is a lot of us look at these labels all the time. We look in our shower, we have different shower bottles with lots of different colors and schemes and all kinds of things. And the problem is that can create a lot of stress for you. You feel like you're like overwhelmed by so many things around you. They're so loud. This bottle is so much louder than this bottle. And before you freak out, I'm not trying to tell you you have to decant everything. This is just an example of a bottle. I think the two things about this is, look, this bottle, green and stressful. This bottle is clear and really there's nothing on it. So it's easier. It blends in with the background. It doesn't overwhelm me. Now, like I said, you don't have to decant everything. That's not what I'm trying to go with here. The concept is you actually oftentimes can just take the labels off of things. So for example, if this was making you too stressed, you can actually just cut this part right off. And look how much less stressful that is. It's still green, but it's way better. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this on all your cleaning stuff, only because this does have poison control information and things like that, but this was just an example. You can still keep this on. But the idea is, look how much cleaner things like this look. This is no more product marketing. Your brain is actually able to calm down and relax instead of feeling like it's in a constant shopping spree and being told what to purchase. So taking off labels or decanting your items are 2 very easy ways to get rid of the product marketing that causes you visual chaos in your home, especially in places like the shower, pantry, or anywhere that you're looking at often. The next thing that often causes a lot of stress in our lives is feeling like we have way too much to do. There is always something to do. I am constantly walking around my house going, there's something to do. Here's something to do right here. Put the scissors away. Here's something to do. Wash this dish. Here's something to do. That thing needs to be fixed. And we're always mentally creating these lists in our head and we're getting overwhelmed and we're constantly feeling like we can never relax. I feel like I've never sat down and actually relaxed. It's one of those things you just get so panicked up in your head. So a couple things that I find for this is creating clear boundaries. Set boundaries of what your expectations are, as well as what your actual duties are, in accordance with everyone who lives in your home. Now, if you live alone, this tip may not necessarily work for you, but you can still set boundaries within yourself. So let's talk about that one first. Setting boundaries within yourself is things like if you work from home, you have a clear cutoff time. Let's say that cutoff time is 6 p.m. You close your computer, you put all of your work supplies away. I don't know. You don't need to continue working after 6 o'clock. If you're not paid to work after 6 o'clock, that's totally up to you, obviously. But if you pick a clear cutoff time, you are going to be able to put that boundary in place and put it away. Now you're not thinking about the work task anymore. And if you need to be worried about something that's going on, write yourself a note for tomorrow. Write yourself down on your to-do list. First thing in the morning, I need to finish writing these emails that I didn't get to this afternoon, but it's 6 o'clock and no one's going to read them tonight anyways. So creating some kind of list, putting it on your desk, closing and putting everything away is going to get you a clear boundary that your work life has ended and your home life can begin. Now, I understand this may not work for everybody. There are people who are on call in different jobs. So let's relate this to an aspect in your home. Something that we do in our home, we set clear boundaries on what is expected out of each person in the home and the tasks that need to be done here. I don't try to walk around, well, sometimes I do, let's be honest, but I really try to do clear responsibilities. If my responsibility is to wash the dishes this week, maybe you have a chore chart or something like that, then when I see the dirty dishes, I wash the dirty dishes. They may cause me stress by sitting there because that's my job. But if it's not my job, then I do not need to be stressed by it. I need to walk by it and that person needs to be responsible for it. Whether that means that you may need to nudge them and say, hey, you're on dish duty this week. Would you mind please? So again, this is not going to always work perfectly, but setting clear boundaries and talking with your partner, your family, your roommates, whomever you may live with is going to allow you to have really clear boundaries of who does what, and it allows you to take a mental load off of your plate. If I don't have to think about the dishes this week, even if I walk past them and see them, it's not my job. I need to put blinders on. This is a trained aspect we all have to work on. We can't just look around and be like, this is my job. We have to have clear understanding. There are certain tasks in our home that my husband does versus what I do. For example, my husband is the cook in our house. He cooks meals at night. So when the evening comes, I do not think about what we're having dinner. I don't even ask what we're having for dinner. I just arrive at the dinner table when he tells me that dinner is served. This is something I've taken off my plate. I don't even think about meals anymore. It's not a concern to me. And then I'm the one that cleans up the dishes after in the meal. So if he cooks everything, I then wash all the dishes. He doesn't need to worry about that. He's more than welcome to go and relax. He can sit here and talk to me. Sometimes he does help me, and the same thing with cooking. But that's not a task he has to worry about. The dishes are now in the sink. He's completed his, and now it's my turn. This is something that takes a lot of practice and a lot of structure, so you just have to get working on it. What I can suggest is creating some kind of clear chore chart, sitting down with the members of your family and being super clear on what you expect from each person. And don't be the dictator. Make sure everyone has a say. If you have children in your home and they can help with certain tasks, this will also help reduce your mental load. The other thought is, for example, if you do have children, yes, you want them to have clean underwear and clean clothes, but at the end of the day, you can't be fully responsible when they're a teenager if they have clean clothes or not, if they can do their own laundry or they can help with doing the laundry. There are certain things that we can all jump in on, and I think that's where we get really overwhelmed. We just see everything and we're like, this is all my tasks. I'm responsible for everything. But sharing the mental load is going to make a big difference in putting in clear boundaries and expectations of your life, your work, your home, any of those things, and what is expected of each person is going to help you a ton. I promise it's made a huge difference for us. Now, look. We can't be in control of everything in our lives. I know we want to be, and I know that it can cause a lot of stress for us when we aren't in control. And maybe that's just me, but I get very overwhelmed if I'm not in control of a situation or I feel like things are spiraling. So taking a step back and trying to control the things that we can control, for example, things in our home like setting up boundaries like we discussed, talking about you don't have to be perfect. Let's look at ways that we are doing good enough. Reducing visual clutter, just putting things away, your own personal things. You can also make other people responsible for their personal things, or maybe somebody is responsible for picking things up at the end of the evening. Whatever that might be, setting schedules and things like that can also help. But creating a less stressful home environment will help you create a less stressful life. Again, this is not going to fix all of your problems. I can't do that. I am not licensed to do that. But I have found reducing stress in your home can make a drastic difference in reducing stress in your life. I am not perfect. I am never going to be. And I really just have to get off the bus on the fact that I sometimes think I will be. But the reality is we all have struggles. We all have things. And so reducing stress in any way that we can is always helpful. These are a few tips that have worked for me in my home. I'd love to hear if you have any tips in your home that have helped you reduce stress. Sometimes there are things you just cannot do about it, but if there are things you can control, go for it. Do it. Make your life easier. Make your life simpler. I think that was another reason why we downsized to a 400 square foot house from a thousands, 2,000, 3,000 square. I can't even remember how big it was. I think it's 2,000 square foot house. We just reduced our lives. Yes, there are things that are more stressful about this life. I'm more crammed for sure, but I have less stuff in general, and I'm forced to have less stuff, and I'm cleaning less, I'm organizing less, I'm decluttering less because I just don't have as much stuff. I'm also not shopping as much. I'm doing less when there is less. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, you all need to sell your big houses and move. You can do simple and small tasks that will help you reduce that sort of panic mode, that sort of overwhelm that your home brings you, and just make you feel more at peace. I think that's something that we're all really just working towards. We want to come home at night or from our office space or when the kids go to sleep, whatever. And we want to feel at ease. We want to feel relaxed. We want to feel like we can enjoy our lives. And we don't want to feel like we're constantly on this hamster wheel that we all oftentimes feel like we are. Those are my tips for you today. I know it wasn't structured. I'm not even sure I accomplished all the tips and the information that I had mentioned I was going to, but I really hope that I did. I hope that you guys can take away some of the stress tips that I've had to help reduce stress in my home. I would love to keep sharing some as I work on this progress, especially throughout this year. It's a big change for me, and I'm hoping to find more ways to help you guys and help myself. So I'd be happy to share them. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up below. It helps my channel grow, and subscribe to Home Reimagined for more cleaning, organization, and lifestyle content here inside my tiny home. Thank you guys so much for letting me be vulnerable here. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or you absolutely hated this video. I don't know. That's where life goes sometimes. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I will see you next week on Home Reimagined for more organization and cleaning tips.